ABC News correspondent Bob Woodruff was seriously injured by a roadside bomb 10 years ago while on assignment in Iraq. He spent 5 weeks in a coma, but he recovered and he returned to work just 13 months later. Wow, the experience inspired Bob and his lovely wife Lee to start the Bob Woodruff Foundation. It helps wounded service members, veterans, and their families.
Since 2007, their annual benefit, Stand Up for Heroes, has raised more than $33 million. It brings together some of the biggest names in music and entertainment. The event's 10th anniversary tomorrow will feature Bruce Springsteen, Jon Stewart, Louis C.K., and more. It's already raised more than $5 million. Bob and Lee Woodruff are with us this morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Great to be here.
Is that the best you could do in terms of talent?
So mediocre.
Good.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Can I begin by reading this note that was a letter from you to him? None of us can prevent the bad things from happening, but the key is how we respond. So I want to thank you 10 years out from the worst day of our lives for taking something awful and building something to do good. Looking back, could you ever believe it would be what it has been?
I don't think so. I mean, it's been 10 years, and after this event, we will have raised $40 million and given that back to the landscape of veterans communities.
I thought it was going to be small. We thought it was going to be small, not going to be this big. We didn't be, it'd be probably after this year about $40 million raised. 2.5 veterans and their family members have been helped, and 300 different programs.
And also your recovery, too.
Well, that's true. That's true. I got my abilities back, and I have a wife that's still with me and didn't divorce me. So that's been amazingly successful.
Well, we're big fans of Lee as well.
Very much so.
Thank you, Nora.
Bob, I think one of the things that both of you have done is because you were cared for at Walter Reed and you were embedded with U.S. troops and you decided to take this and give back to them. Explain why you feel perhaps a debt of gratitude to the military.
Well, I think everybody in this country, we know how much we owe for those that have served in these wars and risked their lives to accomplish what they have, in a world that the United States has remained vulnerable. We were invaded back in 2001. They've done so much for people. It's also the most skilled military we've ever had, probably any military in the entire world, what they've been able to do. And part of that is there is no draft. Our kids don't have to serve. That's their decision. And the ones that are doing it, not only they're so good at it, but they're also the ones that have taken this risk for our country.
You talk about, Bob, the anniversary of your Alive Day. I love how you characterize that. And you said that you actually can find happiness again. But what was it like for you to get from there to realizing, you know what, I can actually be happy again? Because it seems so overwhelming and so helpless and hopeless. I remember this story, as we all do at this table. I remember that story very well when you were hurt.
Yeah, it's been a long path, but I think just to have so many friends and so many kids and my wife and my family, it's been coming back faster than we expected.
I think too, you asked about how we got here. I think being so privileged, Bob being a journalist and being injured on the job, as if any of you were, CBS would bring everything to bear. And so we had so much for his recovery. And we looked at the others in the hospital who were in the military who didn't necessarily. And we thought, no one knows this is going on. Everybody in America just assumes that our service members are taken care of when they come home. And 10 years ago, that was not the case. So
what did you see, Lee, in particular that made you say, you know what, we got to do something about this?
We saw empty rooms with young injured men and no family members able to be there because that's not something we pay for as a government. And you recover with loved ones around you, right? That's your motivation.
You hope that there'll be new things available to veterans, including IVF and,
I've been really passionate about that. We've stepped out of our lane we're not an advocacy group at all, but I feel so personally passionate. Our twins are IVF babies, and I've made no secret about that, so I know the heartache of infertility, and we have told these service members come home injured and unable to have families, and the law says, sorry, we won't pay for that. And if you're active duty, insurance covers it, and that was just wrong.
I think one of the great things about the foundation, too, you focused on care for wounded warriors, but you haven't left out the caregivers, which are usually the spouse, which also bear a heavy burden.
I think there's a couple big things that don't get as much attention for what they've done. Absolutely, medically, the doctors, the nurses, the medics, the corpsmen, but then also, of course, absolutely, the caregivers, the spouses at home, whether it's a wife or a husband.
Yeah.
Anybody
And so
that knows
So
Bruce-
one of the things that you know about the foundation dinners too is they bring the caregivers in too, and you kind of you treat them, you give them a bit full spa day.
We've got massage, we've got yoga, makeup, we've got Dior makeup, L'Oreal hair, outfits, jewelry. I mean, this was so personal to me.
Right, you make them feel special.
It's like a queen for a day moment.
It's a queen for a day.
And anybody who knows Bruce Springsteen and Jon Stewart certainly is not surprised that they're involved. But how did you get them involved, and what does their involvement mean to this
They
organization?
moved to New Jersey.
Exactly.
It's actually, that's right, it's not far away. Early on the New York Comedy Festival, the amazing people from there saw some of the stories we're reporting on about a year after I came back, exactly the issues we're talking about. And they looked at this and they're so moved by it and so upset by how the veterans being treated. They said, listen, we can have a little fundraising event. We can have amazing comedians. They'll donate their time to come here and do a little fundraiser. Next thing you know, Springsteen wants to come in and do the same thing. And he's
Yeah,
been
but I
to
have a
every
funny
single
story
concert.
about this that I have to interject. Coma, 5 weeks, playing Bruce Springsteen music, and when he wakes up, so I tell him in his coma, honey, so Bruce wrote him a letter. Bruce was a fan. He was a fan of Bruce's. Bruce said, I'll come backstage when you wake up. So I lied a little. I said, Bruce says he'll come down here and play for you. He wakes up from his coma and says, I need one of those nanaires, because he didn't know guitar. I said, why? You've never played guitar. He said, because I have to be ready when the boss guy comes.
Yeah, Bruce is under pressure.
He heard that. It was the only thing he remembered in his coma. So we told Bruce that story. 10 years later, he's
He's clearly a fan.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great.
Be careful what you
Congratulations.
say in a coma, Nora. That's my lesson.
I know.
about
Well,
that.
10 years and going strong doing
Yeah.
this. Congratulations
night,
to
you gotta
both
come.
of you.
Empire State Building being lit
Congrats.
tomorrow night on stage.
Oh, right.
Yeah, first time
Very
ever.
good.
Congratulations, Woodruffs.
Thanks,
Yeah.
guys.
Nicely done.
Thanks, Gail.
Thanks for all of your support, too.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Charlie.
Glad to do that.
Thanks, Nora.
You can get more information on the Bob Woodruff Foundation and Stand Up for Heroes by visiting our website, cbsthismorning.com.